You're also known as America's Accountant, Dan, and the national media superstar, but primarily you're a New Jersey guy. So let's start by discussing a few issues related to our great state. Actually, some of these topics have already come up this morning. Governor Murphy's been busy, signed a bill that is meant to get around the $10,000 limitation for the SALT deduction. Guru, what does this bill do, and will it work?
To start with, King, Governor Murphy has a new occupation. He's a magician now because he signed a bill into law in New Jersey that magically changes your property taxes into a charitable contribution. Now, the only problem is that the IRS can see behind the curtain here, and they're not going to be fooled. So this new law, well, if we back up for a second, so the new tax law, as we probably all already know, limits the amount of SALT deductions on high-tax states like New Jersey to $10,000. So instead of addressing the issue that high-tax states have, which is their taxes are too high, we come up with this plan to get around the problem instead of solving the problem. So, we see pictures of all the politicians standing around, smiling, congratulating each other, when I believe that this victory is going to be short-lived. And I'm also wondering how anyone, especially politicians in this state, can be smiling about anything after you've recognized the label of being a high-tax state. So let's take a look at what this scheme does. This new legislation allows municipalities to establish charitable trusts that taxpayers can make contributions into in exchange for a dollar-for-dollar reduction in their taxes. The problem is that you're not supposed to receive anything in exchange for a charitable donation in order for it to be deductible. For example, let's say you buy a ticket to go to a fundraising dinner for a legitimate nonprofit organization. And let's say the ticket costs $100 and the value of the dinner that you're going to receive that night is $50. You only get to deduct $50 on your tax return because you can't get anything in exchange for that donation. So this plan might work if you were given the option to help out the government by making a donation and not getting anything in return. But of course, who's going to make a donation to the state of New Jersey? They're not. And that's why the IRS is going to fight this, and they're likely going to win. Charitable contributions are supposed to be optional. Property taxes are not optional. So does anybody think that the IRS can't figure this out? So, and on top of that too, King, in order for these deductions to be permitted, they're supposed to have charitable intent by the donor, and clearly we don't have that. So the intent of what New Jersey is doing here is to circumvent the new tax law, and taxpayers in high-tax state like New Jersey, we don't like it. But the problem is that Congress has the power to tax. The Internal Revenue Code gives them that power. It's just how it is. So here's the question, too, King. What's going to happen when New Jersey taxpayers start to deduct these quote-unquote charitable contributions to their municipality, and the IRS disallows it? So now everybody in New Jersey who took that deduction is going to get a notice of tax deficiency. And let's say that happens. Now it becomes the taxpayer's individual problem to fight the IRS, and it could expose taxpayers to penalties and interest for the underpayment of taxes. In other words, King, this has the potential to become a colossal mess. And by the way, before any of this even happens, I believe that the IRS will come out with a pronouncement and say, this is a no-go. And therefore, that will put accountants, tax preparers that are preparing these returns in a tough position, because although the state of New Jersey came up with this law, the IRS is saying we're not going to recognize it. So it's going to, in my judgment, take New Jersey to actually file against the IRS in court and battle it out, I think New Jersey loses along with any of the high-tax states that would try something similar. The bottom line is this, King. We're a high-tax state. You want to solve this problem? Reduce taxes. That's the obvious answer. That's the right answer. But politicians, they don't want to cut spending, tax more and more and more, where we are now with this particular administration. To me, it's all going bad.